We begin with breaking news this morning. There is a police chase right now in Tarrant County. This all started on Highway 287 in Ellis County around 3 this morning. The vehicle then drove through Mansfield up to 820 and ultimately got on I-30. The chase eventually made its way into Arlington. Chip has been tracking the chase this morning. He has the very latest. Chip, is it still going on? Where's it at right now?
It is still going on, and the suspect is moving in the westbound direction. Just went past East Chase Parkway. So when you look in the upper right-hand corner, you see all those tail lights. I'm going to be flipping from camera to camera as best as I can. So it'll go small, big. And right now I'm going to bring up a camera here that's going to be around the area around Cook's Lane. You see these sheriff's deputies moving at a very high rate of speed. What they're trying to chase down, as you mentioned, Paige, is this gray colored vehicle. This has been hard to spot at times because the vehicle is traveling at over 110 miles an hour, according to what we're hearing on the scanners, and the person is running with no lights on, and so it makes it really difficult to pick up at times. So right now the suspect is moving on I-30, continuing over to now the East Loop 820 interchange at a very high rate of speed. I'm going to kind of go back one camera here, and you can kind of see as he passes Sandy Lane, Cooks, all the flashing lights moving through this area. At this point, we're not sure why the person is running. We can tell you that on the scanners a couple of times in this chase, the suspect actually opened fire, just fired random shots. Now you can see on this camera shot, the suspect is now taking the I-30 transition, and it looks like they are going south down towards the Southeast Connector construction zone and continuing down in that direction. So at this point, I can tell you that construction zone is active. So that's a very dangerous scenario here that's going to be coming through here. We've seen temporary closures from time to time in this area, as is normal for this time of the morning. So I'm going to bring up this camera shot around the Meadowbrook interchange. You can kind of make out the flashing lights coming through here. This shot will probably move in a second or two as the folks over at TxDOT continue to try to pursue this chase. And I'm going to go ahead and go to one camera a little bit further south just to see how much further along he is. And there's the vehicle, which went through the shot just then. Dark colored vehicle there, and is going past the Craig Street interchange and the Meadowbrook interchange. So this thing, Paige, continues to move at a very high rate of speed, and the construction zone here around Ramey, this camera will spin and we will see the vehicle come towards this shot. You can see all the crews that are actively working in this area on the new overhead, and up in the upper center part of the screen is the chase, or at least the pursuance. We can make them out a lot better, right? But up ahead, and you'll see like vehicle going through there with lights on, and then a vehicle going really fast is the suspect's vehicle. There it is right there, right now, going through that shot. So we are now seeing this chase. It's been going on since we've been monitoring it for well over 45 minutes, and was going on way before that. This shot is around the Berry Street interchange. All of the chase itself is coming right at this shot currently. Suspect is up ahead and has at times tried to move on side streets in this area. The last time he came through here about 15-20 minutes ago. We'll see if he tries to do that again. It is a spot where you could go on to side streets if you're successful in avoiding all the construction crews, and potentially go on side streets to potentially lose the sheriff's deputies that are following. But the first time that individual tried it, though it did create some confusion initially, they were able to rejoin the chase. We know that there have been a couple of times, Paige, where they have tried to tried to employ spike strips to stop the individual, but the initial attempt that they tried, which was early on Highway 287 when this chase was moving from Midlothian to Mansfield, was unsuccessful. You can see the chase is now moving into that 287 interchange, and the suspect looks like it's taking Highway 287, the Martin Luther King Jr. freeway, to avoid that closure right there, and is now going to start moving on Highway 287 in the westbound direction toward downtown Fort Worth. So this chase continues to move at a very high, dangerous speed. At this point, we have not seen or heard of any crashes that have been caused as a result of this chase. Looks like this camera shot is not responding well. I can tell you they're going to be continuing through this area and moving over towards the Mitchell interchange, and if it continues through here towards downtown Fort Worth. So again, the suspect just avoided moving into a place where there was a construction closure and is continuing over toward the Erath Road interchange. Looks like I'll be able to rejoin the chase here on this camera. This shot is working, and you can see off in the distance all the flashing lights. I'm hopeful that we will have another entity maybe or someone be able to jump in front of this, but it makes it really hard when the chase is going 110 miles an hour to get ahead of someone who keeps switching from highway to highway to try again and deploy the spike strips. So that's been the biggest frustration, I think, for the Ellis County Sheriff's deputies that started this chase, again, at least an hour and 15 minutes ago.
That was my initial question, Chip. So it is Ellis County Sheriff deputies that are the ones chasing. These are the flashing lights that we're seeing here.
Yes, that is correct. And they continue now to move towards downtown Fort Worth at a very, very high rate of speed. Again, they have been touching 100 to 110 miles an hour this entire time, and it really hasn't gotten slower unless the suspect is taking a transition ramp. So here's the 287 camera at Mitchell. You see the glowing lights of the sheriff's deputies pursuing, and in the darkness there, you'll see the vehicle go right through the shot right there in the right lane. Again, very high rate of speed. And there are two of the deputies that have definitely gotten a little bit closer to the vehicle in the last few minutes, but have not been able to, again, get in a position where he could maybe potentially end this. This is the 287 camera around the Vickery interchange, and the camera is pointing south, so we should see the vehicle come through again in this shot here in the next couple of seconds.
Chip, correct me if I'm wrong, but Fort Worth Police, Tarrant County authorities, they usually will get involved in chases, correct?
They do at times, for sure. The Tarrant County Sheriff's deputies, absolutely. So if they could potentially get in a position, they would try to assist. You'll see the vehicle come into this shot and boom, went right through the shot right there. And you can see how hard it is really to kind of pursue something that's moving this quickly and to try to do something where you can get ahead of the vehicle if you're the Ellis County Sheriff's deputies. And that's why I bring up the hope that maybe they can get another entity like Tarrant County Sheriff's deputies to potentially assist.
110 miles per hour, obviously dangerous rates of speed, not just for that suspect vehicles and authorities chasing them, but also other people on the roadways. In your history of covering these types of chases, what's the best plan for folks that are driving out and about that may see these flashing lights and see chases like this? Just get out of the way, put your flashers on. How can folks help authorities in a situation like this one?
So because it's 4 a.m. and there's not a lot of vehicles around, it makes it difficult to do anything as a civilian. You're just going to get kind of caught up in the undertow. So the best thing to do if you see something like this approaching is to just pull away from it and let the sheriff's deputies in this case do their thing. Trying to stop them with your own vehicle is extremely difficult and not advised. And that's the kind of the nuts and bolts of that. If we have from time to time seen, like, if you had like two 18-wheelers that are driving next to each other and all of a sudden a chase came up, we have seen cases occasionally where drivers will realize what's going on and they'll intentionally block the roadway. But that's a big, large vehicle, right? And it's kind of different than just a sedan or something along those lines. So when you are on the roadway and something like this approaches, you're best to just let the law enforcement officers do their thing.
All right, Chip, we're going to keep an eye on that. Thanks for being so on top of it. I mean, this person bit-bopping around North Texas this morning at a very high rate of speed. Very dangerous.
Extremely dangerous, yes. So right now, we're trying to pinpoint their position. They've been, the Ellis County Sheriff's Deputies have been saying that they're around I-30 in Hewlin. This is around the I-30 in Montgomery interchange. I can tell you just a minute or two ago around I-30 in Summit, The sheriff's deputies tried to do what's called a pit maneuver, or at least we're getting close to trying it. Now you can see it around 30 and Hewlin here. You can see the deputies moving through the shot. They decided against doing the pit maneuver, and the reason that they did not try to do that, Paige, is because they were afraid that that would end up, if they were able to successfully stop him that way, it might turn into a gunfight of some kind. We've mentioned already that this suspect has fired shots when moving along I-30 about 340, 345 or so around I-30 in the Cooks Lane interchange. So they just went through the Camp Bowie interchange here. They're continuing over towards the Bryan Irvin interchange, and at this point they have not figured out what the next steps are in trying to bring this chase to a conclusion.
Chip, for our folks that may not know, can you describe what a pit maneuver is when authorities deploy that?
So a pit maneuver is used where a vehicle is trying to evade officers, and they will move up alongside or behind, and then they will cut the vehicle off and cause the vehicle to then ultimately crash. Another thing that is employed at times there in the pit maneuver is they'll basically hit the back bumper and make them spin out. Okay. So right now the activity is focused in this area of I-30 and Camp Bowie, and listening to the scanners, they're definitely trying to bring this to an end. If you look hard enough at this shot, it looks like what happened is that the suspect went onto Camp Bowie and went to the south, kind of looking over at my news desk. Is that where they went? Wrecking out at Camp Bowie. So right now we know that there's a wreck that has happened as a result of this chase. And airbags were deployed. So my gut says that what I'm looking at here on this shot, that the end of the chase is up in that top center part of the shot that you're looking at. If you will allow me the opportunity to try to make a call here, I'm going to try to get the folks over at TxDOT to maybe take this camera and move it into a position to where we might be able to see this a little bit better.
TxDOT, this is Joanne.
I think that hey, it's Joanne. Joanne's Chip. So right now, go take the 30 and Camp Bowie camera and zoom in, and I think you'll be on the actual incident itself.
While
the person
Chip is chatting with TxDOT, trying to get this camera flipped around, I just kind of want to recap where we started with this police chase. It started at around 3 this morning in Ellis County. At one point, the suspect vehicle traveling at a very high rate of speed. We're talking upward of 110 miles per hour. The suspect vehicle went onto 287, drove through Mansfield up to I-20, ended up getting on I-30 toward the Arlington area. It seems that they started making their way back to kind of where we're looking at right now. Again, Chip reporting that this ended in a crash out at Camp Bowie in Tarrant County. Ellis County Sheriff's deputies were the ones initially who started this chase. I do believe that these are the authorities that now ended the chase. I want to check back in with Chip when he's off the phone again with TxDOT, just if Tarrant County deputies ended up getting involved. Again, in the past, we have seen involvement from Tarrant County Sheriff's deputies if need be. Chip was reporting that there was an initial use of spike strips on 287. That was unsuccessful. We did hear on the police scanner that shots were fired. It's unclear if the suspect fired shots toward authorities that were chasing him or if it were just random gunfire. Chip was reporting that this suspect vehicle would get on the highway, off of the highway, utilizing side streets through the Arlington area, through Mansfield, making it very hard for authorities to catch up with them. Again, traveling at such a high rate of speed, 110 miles per hour, making it very, very difficult for authorities to catch up with them. Chip was just saying a few minutes ago, authorities over the scanner were questioning whether or not to use a pit maneuver. And at this point, Chip, I hear you're off the phone with TxDOT. We got that camera removed. Was this a pit maneuver? Did they end up crashing this vehicle out, or did the suspect end up doing that themselves? And where are we at right now?
Yeah, so it's unclear as to if the pit maneuver was what ended up causing the crash or anything else. So I won't even discuss that because I didn't physically see it happening. Right now, though, I can tell you the activity is focused on Camp Bowie, south of I-30. So you see these deputies that are moving into the area right now, and it looks like what they're going to do is potentially close down the roadway. Again, this is a super dangerous situation for law enforcement because we know the person is armed, and so how they go about bringing this to an end is going to be extremely difficult. So be aware that if you live in this area, you have businesses in this area, they are immediately starting the process of blocking off a section of roadway where the crash has occurred to keep people away from the area. And I know the shot's not great because of where the individual has ended up crashing away from where the TxDOT cameras are normally focused on. So it's about a half mile or so south that we're looking away from the I-30 interchange in Camp Bowie. You can see it is in a business area, but at this point we can't really tell exactly what the next steps are going to be. Will they have to negotiate with the individual to bring this to a peaceful conclusion? Will that individual decide not to do that, or all questions that we just simply can't answer? All we know is that there's a perimeter being set up right now, and they are approaching this with great delicacy, if you will.
And for our folks that are just now tuning in, this police chase starting in Ellis County, ending near Camp Bowie in Tarrant County. Chip, can you point out very quickly for our viewers that may not be able to tell where the end of this chase happened? I mean, we see an ambulance coming into the scene here. The second green light kind of toward the left is where we want to be focusing our attention, correct?
Yes, straight down in that area. That is correct.
Do we know what street that is? Because that looks like a main street in that business district.
So right now, if you're looking at that area and you're talking about the Camp Bowie interchange, you are looking south down towards where Camp Bowie kind of merges in, or 377 around the Bryant-Irvin interchange. So that's kind of what you're looking at. So when you're looking at that, you're looking south by southwest. And so you have a couple of more minor side streets, but the next major side street where there would be a signal light interchange is going to be that Bryant-Irvin interchange. So that kind of gives you an idea. I feel like it's right in between 30 and Bryant-Irvin where the majority of the activity is being focused on right now. It could be maybe just a touch further south down towards like Westridge Avenue and Hilldale, but I think that it's kind of closer to that Bryant-Irvin interchange.
And for our viewers that are just waking up with us, we do want to catch you up to speed here. A police chase started at around 3 this morning in Ellis County on 287. The suspect vehicle ended up driving through Mansfield up 820, got on I-30 toward the Arlington area. I mean, Chip, this suspect really was all across North Texas, driving one way, kind of coming back toward Tarrant County, ultimately ending where we're looking right now in Tarrant County. Do we know if Tarrant County Sheriff's deputies ended up getting involved in this chase at all? Have we heard that on the scanner?
Yeah, so the answer is we actually do not know at this point. It is so fresh. You can see now we have a couple of fire trucks moving into that area where the crash happened. And at this point, I would say that at this point, it's just hard to tell because the scanner traffic has kind of ceased and we're listening to two different scanners. So anything that I say at this point would be more speculation at this point. And so that's why I'm kind of hesitating and taking some pregnant pauses because I don't want to say anything that's not necessarily accurate at this point. All I do know is that the vehicle ended up crashing here just a couple of minutes ago in this general area that we are looking at here along Camp Bowie, south of the I-30 interchange, and the airbags were deployed. So that is another indicator that the suspect might be injured. But the question there then becomes how injured, how compromised is the individual at this point? Can the deputies make an aggressive maneuver towards, arresting this individual and bringing this to an end officially? At this point, I would say that there's definitely progress being made. I'm trying to listen to the scanner while I'm talking to you at the same time, but it doesn't sound like he's been officially taken into custody yet.
Yeah, and again, a dangerous police chase starting about an hour and a half ago in Ellis County. I mean, the speed itself of which this vehicle was driving, 110 miles per hour, not only compromising themselves, authorities chasing, but also other civilian vehicles, folks that may have been out and about on the roadways early. I mean, we are talking about some of the most major highways in our area: I-30, 287, 820.
Well, and going through the heart of a construction zone in the Southeast Connector Project, where it's active, you have active workers that are doing their
100%.
job, trying to do that to the best of their ability, and suddenly a vehicle with no lights at 100+ miles an hour comes whizzing by you. That can just be so unsettling and terrifying. We are starting to hear on the scanner that there were multiple people in the car. So that's the newest development at this point. Multiple people in the vehicle. And I don't know if that helps paint the picture or not. Usually when you hear multiple people running from the law, it's going to be something that's going to be along the lines of and again, this is speculation. 100% speculation. Was this a potential robbery that was going on, or something along those lines? Ellis County Sheriff's deputies jumped in, or anything like that. Was it something else, drug-related? We don't know, but I can tell you multiple people in that vehicle.
Right, and again, this is just going to open up a big can of worms for really everybody involved, because now this is a large investigation. You have traveled through multiple areas, multiple cities in Ellis County, now in Tarrant County, where it's ending.
And briefly into Dallas County. They actually got up to the 183, 360 the George Bush Turnpike 183 interchange. And so it was briefly in Dallas County, there in that Irving corridor there, just a little bit west of the Irving Mall. So yeah, 3 different counties that this has gone through.
Again, and we can't say just how dangerous this truly is. On the right-hand side of your screen, you're looking at video that we recorded on during this police chase. Of course, on the left, near the Camp Bowie interchange, we're seeing the end of that police chase. 110 miles per hour, dangerous speeds, but also armed. Chip, do you know if the suspect, either the driver, somebody in the vehicle, you had mentioned we heard over the scanner they fired shots. Was that toward the direction of authorities? Was that made clear on the scanner, or did it seem like random gunfire, maybe just letting authorities know we're armed and this is now an even more dangerous situation? Yeah,
so what I'll share is my opinion. When I'm listening to the scanner and the deputy yelled out shots fired, there are different kinds of ways you yell that out. This was more like he just fired shots, like very, very low key. So he was not, I don't think, feeling like he was in danger when these random wild shots were fired. But think about that. A random wild shot coming from a vehicle, and that bullet's going to go and land somewhere. So that just is something that is scary in and of itself.
It is scary because you really can't put into words just how dangerous this could have been, and obviously is, for, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the folks inside of the suspect vehicle, obviously for authorities. But you had mentioned the construction crews out on the roadway. You had mentioned other passenger vehicles.
Yeah, an innocent bystander.
You fire a gun on a roadway. That bullet, like you just said, has to land somewhere. God forbid that were to land into another passenger vehicle. Somebody maybe coming home from night shift at work. Somebody leaving to clock in early, or even worse, hitting a construction crew worker. This has now become an issue for the general public. This is a very dangerous police chase, one of the more dangerous ones I've seen since being here at Fox 4.
It is super dangerous, and I guess that's the blessing right now. It's ended, right? We don't know if it's completely done. I was able to just get confirmation, 5 people in the vehicle, 5 people in the vehicle when it crashed. Of the 5, 1 is unconscious. So it sounds like this chase, Paige, is actually starting to come to some kind of a conclusion or end.
I just want to...
Just by listening to that.
That update you just heard on the scanner, are we still listening to Ellis County?
Yes.
Okay, so
that's our
they're still the
primary
lead authorities
source of information at this
on
time.
this investigation. It seems, again, ending in Tarrant County. For the folks just waking up and joining us, I just want to recap a little bit here. Again, this chase started about an hour and a half ago around 3 a.m. on 287 in Ellis County. That's why we are listening to their scanner here, getting all of the updates. The suspect vehicle, which we now know had 5 people in it, driving through Mansfield up 820, getting on I-30, driving as fast as 110 miles per hour in some areas. Chip, you had mentioned, of course, all of these major highways, also side streets. We do know at least one of the people inside of this vehicle is armed. They had fired random shots at some point along this police chase. Coming to an end. That's what we're seeing right now south of Camp Bowie. We're going to keep an eye on it, Chip. We do appreciate all of your insight on this police chase.